This beautiful forest behind me is definitely not a forest. What it is worthless. It's worth nothing. Believe it or not, this land is absolute garbage. 70 years ago, this land was not garbage. It was productive and it made money for my grandpa. It is a lifelong dream of mine to turn this land from this, which is something worthless, back into something that is productive. I'm John Davis. This is Lachlan Highlands Farm. Let me tell you how I'm going to do that. Let's get ranching. About a year ago, I embarked on a journey to take this land and transform it back into some amazing pasture. I've spent the last year cutting down, I think I'm up to 200 trees now, clearing land and burning and opening up the tree canopy so that sunlight can get down, and taking this horrible land and turning it back into something that, like I said, we can put animals on and make money with, and actually make enjoyable to hike around in, where you're not getting poked by brambles with every step that you take. The reason I call all of this worthless, I'm standing on a part of this hillside that I'm going to clear this winter, and it is full of junk trees and invasives. That's an invasive, that's Japanese barberry, that's worth nothing. In fact, it attracts a certain type of mouse, which attracts ticks. That's part of the reason we have such a tick problem around here. These trees here are wild cherry trees, which do not do well in Ohio. They get big and spindly, and they fall over, and they just suck up a bunch of resources and do nothing. They tend to shade out and compete with the trees that are actually worth something, like these two black walnuts here. Big, mighty black walnuts, and look at that canopy. It's all messed up. All the tree people are going to tell you, you do not want to have a canopy like that. You want to have a canopy that is relatively nice and open to give the trees room to breathe so you don't have disease problems, and just make for a nice forest where things can grow. There's an elm tree. We've got elm trees all over the place. There's one right there. Elm gets elm disease, forget what it's called, and it dies and falls over. There's ash trees that, unfortunately, emerald ash borer get a hold of and eat and kill. And the trees that are actually desirable that we want, like this nice little maple right here, he can't grow, or she can't grow, because it's got all this stuff around here. This just doesn't do anything for us. It's kind of BS, honestly. There's thorns and prickers and everything all over the place, and oh, the ticks, and there's these hawthorn trees. These things are evil. That is a horrible, awful tree. Hawthorn trees all over the place. It is not good. What is cool, though, is the potential that is waiting under all of that garbage. This on this side is that same area that I was just in and I have not touched yet. This on this side is the area that I spent all last year clearing and burning and cutting and really putting the effort in to make it good. This whole area, like I said, 70 years ago, 50 years ago even, was all grown up in grass and a few trees. And that grass was high quality forage for dairy cattle, which is what my grandfather raised and his father before him raised on this land. And they supported an entire family on it and did great. When all this stuff grew in, it outcompeted the grass and the grass died. The amazing thing, though, is that the soil never forgets. I did come through here with the ATV and dropped on a pasture mix of seed, which I'll show on the screen here so you can get an idea of what we seeded. But I didn't seed this area. And the reason I bring this up, like I said, the soil doesn't forget. There are grasses that are coming up that I did not put this seed in the soil. It's amazing. If we go back into the woods and look at the ground there, the ground looks bare. There's some weeds and like some understory and underbrush growing and that type of thing, but you see a lot of bare dirt. When we open this up and expose it to sunlight and exposed it to water, there is a latent seed bank, which is incredible, that lives in the soil. And some of these seeds are hundreds of years old, which blows my mind. And I first learned about this when I watched the movie Roots So Deep with Joel Salatin and a whole bunch of other regenerative ag people. And on Joel's property, he's got native grasses there from hundreds of years ago, maybe 1,000 years ago, that botanists cannot identify because the seeds are so old and they haven't grown in that region, which is Virginia, for so long that we don't have a record of it. They don't know what to call it. And that blows my mind. So a lot of this grass that is growing is seed that was laid down when this was a dairy farm 70 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago. It's the natural seeds in the ground that just were waiting to express themselves for when somebody came along and actually started taking care of the land. It's amazing. Absolutely incredible. An added side benefit of this project is access. The creek bottom, which is a beautiful tract of land that is alongside the West Beaver, or the west branch of the Beaver Creek, is something that we have always had a hard time accessing on our property because it's at the bottom of a hill, and the said hill is all grown up and all manner of spiky things and trees and everything else. To get heavy equipment down there to mow down the multiflora rose and the autumn olive and basically keep it maintained so that we can keep it open and use it is next to impossible. There's muddy areas that we just can't get across, and a big chunk of that property right now is an island. This road is a lifelong dream of mine. I made a video to it, which I'll link as a card that you can click, showing what it looked like back in the winter when I started, and basically that's what it looked like my entire childhood. And I've always had dreams of opening this road up and getting access to the creek bottom down through this road and just having a beautiful trail we can ride horses on, ATVs, walk, all that stuff. So it is so cool for me to finally have a childhood dream come true and be able to get down. It's a lot of work. This trail I have put a ton of time into, and I'm about 3/4 of the way done and need to finish it before this winter. But this is part 1 of a larger trail system on our farm. Part 2 will connect what we call the 3-corner piece with the portion that I'm clearing right now so that we can run cattle from one end of the property to the other without having to go on the road, which will be amazing. All in due time. It only takes time and money and faith. The journey is definitely not complete. We've got a fair amount of work left to do, but it'll get there. I wanted to do this update because I started on this last year. I have an entire playlist about the Silvopasture project. We're going to be making content for a long time on it. Nothing earth-shattering today, just progress, and it's awesome. So thank you for watching. I'll link that playlist at the end here so you can look at it, see what we've been doing, and I'll link some other videos too that I think you'll find enjoyable. God bless you. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.